Welcome to episode 4 of the MTGDeckTechs podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MTGDeckTechs podcast. I'm your host, James, and I'm joined today with Jason, also from MTGDeckTechs.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's awesome to be back, and let's talk about some really cool things.
We have a ton of stuff to talk about tonight. A lot has happened in the Magic world over the past week, but first we have to remind you guys about ways to support our channel and our website. So, if you are in the market for any dice bags or playmats or anything along those lines, make sure you hit up inkgaming.com. And if you use our affiliate code TECHS10, TECHS10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off all your purchases. And it kind of helps us out too. So it's a win-win. And then if you want to support the show directly, you can go to our Patreon link at patreon.com/the-MTGDeckTechs. And any little bit you guys give is a huge help to our show and our website. Our website, by the way, has been pumping out a ton of content in the past week. With the release of Guilds of Ravnica, we have articles ranging from entire color set reviews for Limited, card reviews for Constructed, along with our other content that we regularly produce on Commander and Pauper and all the formats that you guys love. But some of the topics that we want to talk about tonight is there was a story that came out about a pre-release event that did not get to happen. And this was an event that occurred in a library as opposed to a game store. And the Wizards Play Network shut it down and the pre-release was not able to happen. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about some of the events that went on this weekend, to include the GPs in Montreal and Mexico City, Star City Games Team Constructed event that took place in Columbus. And then we have other announcements for Wizards that we're going to discuss, such as the changes to how you can qualify for the Pro Tour. We already discussed how there's going to be 6 each year instead of 4. They came out with more information. We're going to kind of touch on some of those details. Then we're going to close off the episode with the community spotlight for this week, along with our booster box giveaway announcement. Who is the lucky winner for that? And then a winner for the Triple Strike questions from last week and the new Triple Strike questions for this week, with your chance to win a free booster pack. And that was a lot of stuff to say really quickly. So, Jason, let's talk about the Library Wizards Play Network story. What do you know about it?
Okay, so basically what happened, there was an article posted on Cool Stuff Inc. by... I was looking up his name. I can't remember what his name was. But he runs he has this game store's events in a library because his local game store is too small to hold events. And he's been doing this for months, for years, whatever. Well, they didn't get a chance to have a pre-release for the Guilds of Ravnica because Wizards came in and stripped them of their WPN network entitlements. They took their status away. So they didn't get any of the stuff for the pre-release, and the kids didn't have a way to pre-release, and only like half of them got to go to a game store to actually play, but the other half couldn't do anything. And overall, I think that's a terrible look on Wizards of the Coast. I understand why they did it, but they should still be able to make exceptions to the rule, especially in this situation, because it's not like... This isn't a situation where they're trying to protect what they're trying to protect. This is a situation where there's kids that have a place to go and have fun and do things that are constructively good for them, and Wizards is kind of taking it away. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I don't know. So I kind of get it, and I think why this particular situation was getting so much bad press was because of the timing. So To kind of dive a little bit more into the details, so this is a guy who is the tournament organizer for a super small store. It was a store that didn't even have events being hosted, and it was kind of this guy, which I wish I could remember his name. I should have pulled up the article. But he decided to ask them and be like, hey, can I host tournaments, for local children primarily, and I can host it in this library because this store was so small that it could not actually seat the minimum of 12 people required by the Wizard Play Network to host events. So when Wizards Play Network decides to conduct random reviews, kind of recertifications of their stores, which is good, it keeps quality control, they failed, and they ended up failing this right before that pre-release. So I think that the timing kind of gave it a bad press, as well as the fact that it was geared towards small children, typically younger children, with no other stores in the local area to play in. Now, Wizards did, I guess, kind of feel bad. They did promise some sort of gift for the kids involved that were unable to play in a pre-release. We haven't really seen what that is, but I kind of feel like a little bit this kind of falls on the store. If the store can't actually host these events, then should we really be mad if they were trying anyway to find a loophole and they got shut down for it?
So I don't think that they should be penalized for not being big enough. I don't necessarily think that they were going out of their way to look for a loophole to get free things like what they're trying to protect from. Basically, what their system is for people. It's to stop people from getting free stuff or like cheaper stuff to like have stuff in their basement, have events in their basement for them and their for themselves and their friends. And I get that. But I don't think that this was that kind of thing at all. I don't think that they were trying to find a loophole to be able to do it. Like, sure, it's been making them, a good bit of money from it, but I don't think that there is any ill will here. Bruce Richard is the article writer, by the way. He's a tournament organizer and the author of this article. But I don't think that there was any ill intent here.
No, I do agree with you. There wasn't any ill intent, but it kind of makes me wonder, if there should be another kind of class of a WPN store. So what if like school programs, for instance, if there was an after-school club or any other type of school organization, board game club or something that wanted to host events themselves while having the DCI number, allowing for Planeswalker points, which is really the only difference from just doing it yourself anyway, and that they're provided product for pre-releases and stuff. Do you think that there should be another WPN status where you could sign up for that and that they would provide you with certain level of things, like just enough for a Magic League or just enough for a pre-release for 15 players or something that they could use, as opposed to like the full store thing that maybe would kind of keep these people, this program that this tournament organizer had, still allow them to do what they're doing?
Oh, absolutely. I think that would be a great thing. You'd be able to help kids that don't have a local game store nearby them. The people that they're trying to reach with this Amazon deal that they struck. So I think that would be great, and it would be a great PR thing for Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, sure, let's make it a little bit smaller and under a store level network status, but still provide some things for these like after school programs, as you're saying, or these libraries or stuff. It gets gets kids together in a constructive way, and it gets them off the street. Honestly, that's pretty good. I think that would be a great idea, and it's something they could really look forward, look into doing, and it would definitely clean up their image and make them look good, and it would be a good thing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it would be like taken advantage of though, because I mean, I think it'd be a cool idea. It definitely needs some things fleshed out because people would still be able to kind of do their own basement thing. I guess they would need to have similar vetting criteria that stores do, just in a different way, like through a business, or you have to have a principal of a school sign off or something. But I think that's a pretty interesting thing. I thought this story was definitely pulling on a lot of people's heartstrings. There was a lot of outrage about it, and I don't know if you have any more details on it, but I think that it was kind of just bad press. on a system that we kind of knew that this would have happened. Like if someone presented this situation like, hey, this store is running events out of this other location, everyone probably that had an idea of how WPN worked probably knew, okay, that has a short lifespan. So I don't know if you have any closing thoughts on that either.
Yeah, I don't really have anything closing. I just think that in this situation they could have made an exception because there's no ill intent here. It's helping so many kids. I don't see the issue really. They're not doing what Wizards is trying to protect themselves from. So that's my thinking on it. I think this was blown out of proportion and it was just really bad press for them. I think that they could have did something after they could have remedied the situation whenever Bruce Richard asked for it originally.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it could have been handled better, especially better than a retroactive unknown gift. Like, hey, we'll give the kids something. But I mean, even something as just like if a human just looked at this as opposed to, like a program or just like looking at blocks to check in the situation. If they looked and be like, okay, the pre-release is coming up, let's give them the pre-release at least, and then we'll come crashing down. But I don't know. I kind of get it. I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are listening in. If you have any thoughts, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll give you our handles and the email address as well at the end of the episode. But this was a pretty controversial topic, and I think that me and Jason, we both understand why it happened, but I think we also both think that it should have been handled a different way. So make sure you send us your thoughts. And I think that moves us into our next topic. So Guilds of Ravnica was just released officially 5 October, with the pre-release the weekend before that. So this past weekend that we just had was the draft weekend and all things limited. So Wizards of the Coast was hosting 2 GPs, one in Montreal and one in Mexico City, and both were limited. But there was another event going on, and that was the SCG Team Constructed event going on in Columbus. So Jason, did you get to watch any of these, or do you have any opinions on comparing these events?
Yeah, as far as comparing the events goes, for one, I didn't even know at the beginning of the weekend. I didn't even know there were 2 GPs going on. I didn't even know of GP Montreal at first until I saw Ted from Cardsphere putting pictures of him there on Twitter. But it wasn't even until you told me there was a GP in Mexico City that I knew about that. They didn't advertise it really well, and Limited doesn't sell as far as streaming goes. As you can see by the numbers from the streams, the stream comparisons from SCG and Wizards of the Coast, the SCG team constructed tournament blew them out of the water. People want to see Standard right now. With it being so fresh now, they want to see Standard right now. They want to see Modern right now, because Modern's always popular. Legacy, people enjoy it, but they don't really care about it too much. There's a fringe group that do. But this is the first weekend after you've released Guilds of Ravnica, and we want to see what's happening in Standard. So that's exactly why Star City Games got the bigger audience over Wizards of the Coast, because nobody likes Limited really anyway watching it. I can't say nobody, but not very many people like watching Limited streamed. So that's my piece on it. I didn't really want to watch Limited. I checked out Star City Games, of course.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat. Limited does always kind of suffer a little bit when it's being watched. I think there's 2 really interesting points to always watch when you're watching a Limited stream, and my favorite is actually watching the draft. Seeing these high level pros and what do they pick over other stuff, especially when they have the opportunity to go back and watch multiple people draft at that same table, and you can kind of see how the signaling was working on each other. That's my favorite part. So and I think it is with a lot of other people too. So you'll see a spike at those times, and then also towards the end of the Limited tournaments, kind of like what were the best decks, what were the effective archetypes, which in Guilds of Ravnica, it's it's kind of easy to figure out the archetypes because you typically just want to follow along the guilds. Those are pretty much designed to work the best. So I definitely understand why Limited wasn't as popular as Team Constructed. And the Team Constructed I watched was awesome. There was a lot of really cool decks out there. Probably one of my favorites was the Selesnya Tokens deck. I saw Todd Stevens running it when I kind of poked in and watched coverage over the weekend. And it is really, really explosive. With the March of the Multitudes and the Loxodon that generates the +1/+1 counters, it gets really big, really fast, and it is a pretty swingy deck. He was almost dying a lot of the time, especially to one of the other most popular decks I saw this weekend was the mono red deck, which had the kiln. What was it called? The steam
runaway steamkin.
Yeah. So that thing's been doing work in Standard, and I haven't seen it yet with the deck tech you made in Modern with that turn 1 kill possibility, but that mono red deck was doing a lot of work as well. So I definitely see the attraction because I was glued to the stream when I had the opportunity to turn it on, and the Standard was a lot of fun. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on the decks you saw or what you've heard or what you expected, or did you get to watch at all the SGG?
Yeah, I've been watching a little bit. I watched when Jeff Hoogland was on stream the Battle of Wits versus his Green Black Rock in that ridiculous madcap experiment.
That Battle of Wits stick was nuts. How many cards is in it?
It has to have over 200 cards. It pushes close to 300. But the thing about Battle of Wits, you can't really take it to a big event like that, and I'm surprised that it even was there because the way
team.
the way that the deck is constructed, like you have to sleeve them, and the deck is so big, and you have to be able. There's a rule that you have to be able to randomize your whole deck in a certain amount of time, and it's very, very hard to do that. So that's why you don't see a lot of Battle of Wits at these events. Now you'll see them like in casual like F&Ms and stuff, but you won't see Battle of Wits a lot. And I'm super I was floored whenever I saw Battle of Wits. It was crazy. But
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually saw that match when Jeff Hoogland was playing against that deck. I don't remember who was piloting it, but I just saw them revealing cards from the top of their hand or the top of their deck for like 2 minutes straight, and it was just overflowing across the entire play space, just cards everywhere. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Now, as far as like standard decks go, one deck I want to point out that I think is going to be really good. Todd Anderson actually he tweeted about it. He tweeted about the mono red deck and this deck. It's like a Golgari Menagerie deck. So it's basically it's a Golgari mid range deck. It's got your turn 1 Lana War Elves. It's got Merfolk Branch Walker, Seeker Squire, J Light Rangers and stuff. But it's also got like Plague Crafter, the new Fleshbag Marauder, which is really cool. It's got Gruesome Menagerie, the 5-drop that gets back a 1, 2, and 3-drop from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's got a single Doom Whisperer. It's got a Golgari Fine Broker to Eternal Witness back your stuff, basically. It looks like a lot of fun. It's very grindy and really cool, and that's the deck that I'm building in Standard. So that's one deck I wanted to point out. The mono red deck looks very good. I think we're going to see some Boros decks coming out of this. Of course, Selesnya Tokens is very, very good. It's very, it can get really swingy, as you said, and you could, pretty much beat it down. But, man, it'll just drop that March of the Multitudes and get right back into it. You're going to have to be able to reach over that deck. But, yeah, definitely. This Standard looks amazing. And I can't wait to just hit as much Standard as I can. Now, to touch on your Steamkin mentioned in Modern, Daniela Diaz has been playing it on MTGO. Not my list, her list. And she 5-0'd with it. The deck's really cool. It's not as explosive as mine, but it's pretty explosive and it's more reliable than my deck. But there's been Steamkin decks popping up on MTGO every once in a while, and I think that's really cool that card is getting the popularity that it has.
Yeah, it's a super cool card. Are you planning on doing a deck tech at all for the Golgari Menagerie on YouTube or anything?
Yeah, I might do it. I want to play it a little bit to get a feel for it because I really don't, I haven't played it yet. I have 4 cards to pick up still. I need a Doom Whisperer, a Memorial to Folly, and 2 Wild Growth Walkers. That's all I need for the deck. But yeah, once I start playing it, I'm going to play it on Arena and MTGO and try to grind it out. Because I'm going to hit an IQ here in a couple weeks for Standard. And I'm going to try to actually qualify for the Invitational. I'll be at SCG Con, but it'd be really cool to qualify for the Invitational for SCG Con.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Is that one going to be standard?
Yeah, the IQ is going to be Standard. It's in Centerville, Virginia, the one that I'm going to. But of course the Invitational is Modern and Standard.
Right. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so there was a lot of great decks. Speaking of Doom Whisperer, it shot up in price pretty quick, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly where it's at right now. Last time I looked, it was around $20.
Okay, yeah, I think it's still around there. But there have been a lot of price shifts jumping around, especially with this weekend with a lot of the standard things. So if you look at a lot of the tier 1 decks, there's one deck that is close to tier 1 that saw some play this weekend in SCG, and it's actually the deck that I'm piloting right now because I'm a baller on a budget, and it was only like $30. And that's the Mono Blue Tempo deck. It is a ton of fun, but last night, I think because of this deck, Siren Storm Tamer straight up doubled in price. It went from like $3 to $6 overnight. So if you've been sitting on a bunch of those, it may be a good time to sell them. I mean, I'm not really good at Magic Finance, but I was pretty shocked to see how drastic the price change was in Siren Storm Tamer. So,
yeah, and
have you seen the mono? Go ahead.
Yeah. The mono blue deck, the Tempo deck, is really good, and I've actually seen people like porting into a white black shell with surveil mechanic stuff like Night Veil Sprite, and stuff like that. Demir Spybug. I think they're even running Night Veil Predator, if I'm not mistaken, or Thief of Sanity, I believe. Thief of Sanity is really good, but it's really easy to port in that white black shell, or not white black, blue black shell, and still have basically the same game plan. But you're going to be able to have a better card selection with Surveil and the likes of that. But that's crazy, though. Siren Storm Tamer, the uncommon at $6. That's ridiculous. I was actually going through my cards and I found 3 of them. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's 6. I know that it was sitting around like 2 something, high 2s, low 3s, and it just straight doubled. And I mean, I was shocked because I was picking up a few of the cards and I was looking at the list and I was like, what's this list again? I was kind of sorting through my collection and I was using MTG Goldfish for it, and I noticed that the day before the deck was only $30, and then I pulled it up again and the deck was worth $45 or something like that, and I was like, what's happening here? And I saw 103% increase of price in Siren Storm Tamer, so I was like, wow. Glad I already had that. So I didn't really see too much more to talk about from the SCG event or the GPs. I really didn't watch the GPs too much. I was really hooked on to watching what the Guilds of Ravnica standard would be. But do you have any more comments on those? If not, we could probably move on to a couple other topics.
No, I think that's about it. We're gonna see some. Of course, being this week 1 of Guilds of Ravnica, we're gonna see some more like tuned lists coming out in standard. We're going to see more metagame lists coming out. So we're in for a wild ride here. Just buckle up and get ready for it because this standard looks insane.
Yeah, it really does. And we're kind of going a little quick on time too. So I mean, with the standard game, what kind of predictions do you have? Do you expect to see kind of the decks we saw at SCG Columbus kind of pushing the way forward, or what kind of tuning do you think there will be, or what do you think is going to be at the top?
All right, so as a grinder, I grind in standard for quite a while through the Kaladesh block. Basically, what you're going to see is it's week 1 you're going to see the aggro decks do well. Week 2 you're going to see decks start to tune to beat those aggro decks, and you'll see control actual tune control lists start to emerge. And then you'll see mid-range decks start to do well and start to emerge too. And then you're going to get the aggro decks to come in and come under those control and aggro or mid-range decks. So it's always a cycle. I think mono red's going to consistently stay good. I think a black-green mid-range deck like the one I was talking about is going to stay good. We're going to see Grixis control. We're going to see Jeskai control, even blue-red control, I think. And also, the Celestia Tokens deck is a powerhouse. It's going to stick around. This is gonna open up a lot. This is going to be a very open meta, in my opinion, I think. We're going to see blue-black control decks. We're going to see blue-black mid-range decks. Just with this guild build and all the mechanics that work together, like Surveil and Undergrowth and Jumpstart, you're going to see the control decks go into 3 colors. It's going to be a super open metagame, and I think it's going to be more open than we've seen in quite a while.
Yeah, I think red is still red's always good. Mono red deck wins. It's just always a thing that's out there. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 3-color control type situation, because I was just about to ask you, like, do you think that we're going to see a lot more 3-colored mid-range decks, than we have seen since pretty much Teamer Energy? 3 colors has really not been that popular, but with the dual lands that have been coming out and the dual lands that we already have from the Ixalan block, do you think that 3-color mid-range, or a lot more 3-color decks, is going to be popular again?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been playing Arena quite a bit, and I've played a couple people that are playing like Naya tokens, which has been pretty good. They're throwing red into the Celestia tokens for some like Legion War Boss and stuff, and that's playing pretty well. You got Goblin Instigator too, which is good. So I think that there's a viable Naya tokens build, and other than that, like the control decks, I really, I'm really trying to build a Sultai Reanimator deck, because Lotlith Giant is really good. Like, I really like that card, and I want to build a deck around it. But I don't want to cast it for 7 mana. But we got all these 5 mana, like, get your creature back from the graveyard. And we have a Satyr Wayfinder and Glowspore Shaman. We got Stitcher Supplier. We got Journey to Eternity to get stuff back. We got Plaguecrafter to sacrifice things. We got Doom Whisperer to surveil. I really think that a green-black base splash blue for like connive and concoct. That split card, that concoct is basically what we're casting. It's the 5 mana surveil 3, get a creature back from the graveyard. I think that a Sultai Reanimator list is very viable too, and I'm trying to build it, and I think it would be really fun at least. And actually, I also want to point out too, in Arena, I saw this. I played against this 4-color Sunbird's Invocation deck. And,
Really?
Yeah, and I don't. It looked very sweet. It was lacking black, but yeah, Sunbird's Invocation. It had Night of Autumn. It had a River's Rebuke in it. It just had so many cool like controlling aspects, and also like it was basically a mid-range deck, but with Sunbird's Invocation for straight value. It was really cool. I beat it with Is It Drake's, but the deck was insane. It had Quasi-Duplicate in it too.
Nice. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the fringe decks are. Like, I'm a big fan of the less than popular decks. I mean, for the last standard showdown or whatever before rotation, I played New Perspectives. Like, I like the random kind of decks that are on the fringe and maybe not the best just because they're the most fun to play. So I'm really curious to see what a lot of those decks are. And I'm also kind of curious to see if the price fluctuations will start dropping back down, because a lot of cards are spiking with this standard game. Like for History of Benalia, like that card's been shooting up because of the Selesnya tokens deck, which I'm also really excited to see about the tokens deck, because I do love token decks and I love going wide. And I think that, from what I saw, Goblin Chain Whirler wasn't enough to really slow that down, especially with the ability to get +1/+1 counters on them and all the support that there is for the tokens. So I think the standard metagame is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. To answer the price fluctuation thing, of course, as time goes on, we're gonna see more Guilds of Ravnica open, which is gonna spike the supply of the cards, so the demand will go down. So therefore, the cards will like even out and go down in value. It's just like the really like high value cards that won't come down as much. But as time goes by and things are open, you'll see prices start to go down and settle. Now, as far as like Dominaria and stuff like that, those singles and stuff, they're not necessarily going to settle because they're still being open, but they're not being as opened as Guilds of Ravnica right now. So as far as Guilds of Ravnica goes, we'll see prices drop and settle at some point.
Yeah. Yep, definitely true. Especially as the metagame settles and everyone starts figuring out, okay, this is the best deck right now. And then something new will come along, and then all the cards that's in that deck are going to spike. But that's just good old-fashioned Magic the Gathering finance. So, do you have anything else on Standard? Or are we good to move to the next topic?
No, I think we're good. I think that's we went pretty in depth with that, and I think that I just can't wait to see what comes out of it, and hopefully it's pretty cool. I think it will be.
Yeah. All right, so the next topic that we're going to talk about, and it's kind of the last big topic, and then we'll probably have a couple smaller topics to hit before we go into the end of the episode. So the next bit we want to talk about is the changes to qualifying for the Pro Tour. So Wizards of the Coast has been coming out with incremental changes for 2019, starting with what we stated back, I think in episode 2, about how there's going to be 6 Pro Tours per year instead of 4. They came out with the next segment of changes that's going to be occurring, and that has to do with the PTQ system. So Jason, what do you got on that?
Okay, so the changes are they're getting rid of PPTQs and RPTQs. They are completely gone. So the ways that you qualify for a Pro Tour now are either at a GP PTQ, like they are right now, which the GPs have become Magic Fest now, and they're 4 days instead of 3 days, and the Grand Prix will be in those Magic Fest. Also, the Pro Tours will also be in Magic Fest too, if you didn't know that. So at Pro Tour time, there's gonna be a GP with the Pro Tour, which is gonna bring attendance up at Pro Tours, which is pretty cool. But as far as the qualifications goes, you could either qualify at a GP PTQ, you qualify from the Players Club, or you qualify from an invitational PTQ. Basically, you have to qualify for that through a point system. So it looks a lot harder now to get in, just like I thought it would be. It's going to be a lot harder to qualify because you're going to have to qualify for a PTQ or go to a GP PTQ, which is going to have your top talent there. And overall, I hated the PPTQ system. You have to go play a PPTQ and win that to get to an RPTQ, and then you have to get it. I forget. I think it was top 4, or no, I think you had to win. Yeah, you have to win. You had to win an RPTQ, which basically you have to qualify for the qualifier to qualify. So I'm glad that the system's gone, but I really think that they should still have PTQs that are open for people in like cities instead of just the Grand Prix. I don't know, like I don't like the way it's looking right now. They said that they're still messing with it, but as of right now, that's where we're at. It looks to be harder to get into the Pro Tour. That's got a lot of people disheartened. I'm kind of a little disheartened, but I don't know. What do you think?
All right, so I think we have a lot to discuss on this topic. You good? All right.
I didn't mute it all the way. Sorry, we can cut that out.
No, you're good, man. So we have a lot to discuss on this topic. So I think we should break it down. So first thing, the name Magic Fest. Do you like it or not?
Nope, I hate it. I
Really?
hate it. I have the same idea, the same thoughts that a lot of people that have been stating on Twitter. Your game is called Magic the Gathering. Why didn't you just call these things The Gathering? You could have called it The Gathering in Las Vegas, The Gathering in Atlanta, The Gathering in Richmond, Virginia. Like, don't you think that sounds better than Magic Fest?
I think it does. I don't know. Magic Fest, I think that sounds kind of fun. But I also think it sounds like they went to an elementary school classroom and they were like, hey, kids, what do we call this event? And they're like, Magic Fest. And they're like, we like it. And they ran with it. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that in the name of the game, there's literally a word for like a collection of people at one spot. And they decided to go off and call it Magic Fest. But I do like the idea that behind Magic Fest, they're trying to make it more of like a convention type feel. Because GPs were always kind of trying for that, and I think that if they commit to it a little bit more, I think it'd be a lot more fun. So I just wanted to hit the name. So you don't like it? I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think it's kind of fun, but I think it's kind of silly at the same time. Like, I don't want to tell my adult friends, oh, what are you doing this way? I'm going to Magic Fest, you know?
Well, you don't really have to call it Magic Fest. You can just call it MF. I'm going to MF in Richmond.
Yeah, that sounds even better. It's a good acronym. All right, so the next thing I want to break down is the PTs being at these Magic Fests. So, what are your thoughts on that?
All right, well, if you look at if you're watching a pro tour, you see it's kind of very anemic, and there's not a whole lot of people there, and that's to be expected because I mean you're basically you're invited to these. You have to qualify, and you get an invitation to the pro tour. So basically, it's just kind of like your plus ones, like the people that are qualified, they're plus ones and their friends and stuff that'll go with them to just go in and check it out. Unless it's in like a populous area that's like super into Magic, you'll get people to come in off the streets and whatnot. But as far as the pro tour goes, I really think that to sell your brand, you should have like a lot of people that are interacting at the pro tour. The pro tour isn't the professional tour, it is the promotional tour. The promotional tour is where the pro tour is where you get people to like check your thing out and come in and play. They want to get there at some point. So I think having more people there is a good idea, and having like a convention around it is a really good idea. And I like it. And if I get there's a GP in like Ohio or something, correct?
I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, so like if there's one close by, heck, I might just go and hang out at one and go to a GP and check out the Pro Tour. I like that idea, and I think that was a good thing to come out of it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good idea to have the PTs at the Magic Fest as well, because I think first and foremost, I think it does something that we were talking about before with the star building aspect. You know, it puts these high level events in front of your face. And I think that if they do it well, that they should be able to have the Pro Tour taking place in one section of the Magic Fest, or I think they were going to have it offset from the GP, but either way, a little bit separated, and then the ability to have an audience for it. So if they, you know, whether the players are playing in another room or they're playing just far enough to where you can have like big screens and like a seating area and actually watch it, I think that would be really impressive as well, kind of like how they do with, you know, other esports. You know, you have the participants up on stage playing their computers, and then you have the giant screens, you know, showing the perspectives and what's going on in the match. And I think that would be really cool for, as a fan, you know, to build a fan base for these pros, being able to watch them actually play and be at the same area so, you know, they can get signatures and put a face to the name and see the excitement behind them getting awarded a trophy, as opposed to these pros just, you know, winning a Pro Tour and they're one of, you know, 15 people that are still there because everyone else has gone home because the tournament's over, and they receive a trophy and a picture, and that's it. So I think that's one really good aspect about it. And then I'm curious also that if it's offset and these Pro Tours are taking place at the same time as the GP, it might actually create a really interesting dynamic where a lot of your top talent is participating in a Pro Tour, so that it opens up more options for the next step or the next stage of players playing at the GP to actually get in. So I don't know if that's going to be a really drastic change or drastic issue, but also I wanted to bring up is that I don't think we touched on before, that kind of feeds into this topic, is the fact that the Magic Fest qualifiers and the qualifiers at the different stores are going to lead to regional Pro Tours. They're going to feed you directly into a Pro Tour within the same region. So what are your thoughts on that? And then also, what are your thoughts on the dynamic that potentially, if you're participating in a GP, the pros that are participating in the PT won't be in it.
Okay, so I don't think that there were like GPs going on the same time as Pro Tours, just like because you wanted your coverage for the Pro Tour, and I think that that's a really cool issue or a cool thing to look at is that now you can be in a Grand Prix where you're not gonna have the pro players playing in it, and you have viably a better chance to qualify for a Pro Tour that way. So I do think that's pretty cool, and that's a good aspect to look at. I don't think that was the intention, but I think it's a good like byproduct of that, and I think that's pretty neat. Now, as far as like the being fed into a regional pro tour, that's good for Wizards, because if you're qualified for the next pro tour, say I go down to, I don't know, I qualify at Grand Prix Richmond, and I qualify for the pro tour in, I don't know, Hawaii. So they're going to send me all the way to Hawaii, and they're going to send everybody from around the world all the way to Hawaii. And they're still going to have to do that for like the international players, but they're going to keep the stateside people around their area, so they don't have to pay the expense, pay like an exorbitant expense, and they're going to save some money that way. I think it's kind of weird because of say if I qualify and the regional pro tour that they send me to is not the next pro tour but the one after that. I think that they kind of clarified it. You could still play in qualifiers. I'm not exactly sure how that works out, but am I not going to be able to play any qualifiers until I get to that Grand Prix, or until I get to that Pro Tour? That's one thing you got to look at. It's good for Wizards, but I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it as far as like a competitor goes.
I think it's actually an interesting idea. I didn't actually think about it being good for Wizards. I don't think they really sponsor everyone's travel unless you're a gold pro or something like that. But I do think that it's good for Wizards in the sense that since it's happening at the same time as a GP, it's just one other place they don't have to move all their stuff. For that coverage, for the getting the commentators there and all the staff and all the product. But I actually think it's kind of cool that they're going to be aligned to regions, and that's because and apparently they're supposed to be aligned to the same region that the GP took place. So if you go to Magic Fest, if you go to an MF in, like you said, Richmond, then you should be qualifying for a pro tour. Maybe not the next pro tour, but the next pro tour that is in that same area. So I think that really helps the player, incentivizes the player to try to go to these MFs and win so that they can go to a PT within the same area. Because a lot of people may not be able to afford, they may think to themselves, okay, what if I do get into this pro tour? I can't fly to, Japan and play there. I can't afford that for myself. So I think that this is actually an interesting idea for that lower stage of pro, the person that's not traveling all over the world constantly playing but still has the skill but just can't afford to go to these different pro tours. And then also an aspect of this that's going to kind of lead into the next point I think we should talk about is that stores that qualify to host these events can pick where they want their qualifier to feed into. And I thought that was really interesting because then the store can decide on their own, hey, I want, my store to qualify you for Hawaii or other exotic location, as opposed to like Siberia or, the middle of Arizona or something like that. So I don't know what your thoughts are with how it works with the stores, or if you have anything to add on that.
All right, going back to the, I want to touch on the can't afford to go to a pro tour. Everybody who qualifies for a pro tour through a regional pro tour qualifier is afforded a travel reward, and their travel is paid for. Anybody anybody that qualifies for the pro tour through a GP or a regional pro tour or have like 33 points in their point system or whatever. Basically, anybody who qualifies for the Pro Tour, they receive a travel reward, and their travel is paid for. So,
oh, good. I was unaware of that.
Yeah, that's I just looked it up real quick because I was pretty sure that's how it worked. But yeah, so I just wanted to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so that does definitely save money for Wizards then. If these people are not having to travel as far, they're not paying as much. So that kind of makes sense. And yeah, it's a good idea. So what do you think about the different stores? So Wizards said that they were going to have qualified stores, basically the best of the best stores that they have, able to host qualifiers, and then they were going to have the invitational qualifiers. But I want to talk a little bit about just the store ones first. What do you think the impact is going to be on your typical local game store that used to be able to host these PTQs, PPTQs, RPTQs, whether they're going to feel hit by this? And also, what do you think about kind of like what I said with their ability to pick where it feeds into, and if that's going to have a weird dynamic on seeding and popularity of what stores to go to for the players?
So as far as local game stores go that have held PPTQs, so I know one of the local game stores that I frequent a lot, they have had PPTQs there, and PPTQs aren't that good for business. They don't bring a lot of people in half the time. The last PPTQ that I went there brought in 10 people,
Oh
and
wow,
yeah, and
I need to go to that store.
right, and that's one that I got a top 4 in, but anyway, you're giving out more in prizes than what you're bringing in, and also you have to pay a judge in product. Um, it's just not necessarily all that good for business. So I don't think it's killing Trip to not be able if he can't get a qualifier. But then again, at the same time, since you're getting rid of all these smaller PPTQs and you're bringing in PTQs, I think that that's good for business because you're basically you're a one of a kind at that point. Like they're not gonna have a whole bunch of them in one region, and you're gonna be the cream of the crop, and you're gonna get some people in that wouldn't necessarily come there to try to qualify, as long as they're invited to it, because I believe they're invitational only, correct?
No, so they have two different kinds. So they have the ability for the stores just to host them, kind of like how they used to with the PPTQs and RPTQs, but the stores are selective. So only the best of the best stores can have that. And then there are also going to be invitational only events that I think also take place at stores.
Okay, if there's like both invitational and free for all, I think that's great. And that's the one thing that I was really worried about is if you had to be invited to actually qualify for a pro tour and it wasn't open, because someone like me, I can't get to every big event that I try to make. Like I've already had to cancel 2 big events this fall for stupid things.
Yeah, I mean, life happens.
Life happens, yeah. So like I'm used to getting like 1,200 points a year. But this year so far, I think I have less than 100 since May, and I'm not trending very well. I'm sure I'll still qualify for nationals by the end of it, but I don't necessarily know if I'd be in the cream of the crop to get an invitational this year. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I definitely like that. I definitely hope that they do have these open GP trials, or not GP trials, Pro Tour qualifiers.
Right.
Because that's what I would be looking for, because I don't necessarily know if I'd be invited. But I think it's going to help out the local game stores that are actually going to be selected to do them if there's not as many as there were before, because you're going to see more people coming in from out of town, driving a couple hours to try to make them, because it's a direct route to the Pro Tour. You go to this store, you win, you're in the Pro Tour. So I think that that's going to help out those local game stores.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I hope that there are enough stores to where they're spread out enough for them to be accessible. So I mean, with the PPTQ, I know when PPTQ season was coming around, within an hour and a half to 2 hours, there were several stores hosting various PPTQs, within a few weekends of each other. And I'm just hoping that this is the same way, or if the store selectiveness doesn't take into account location, then we may only see, these cream of the crop stores in kind of the larger metropolitan areas, and then everyone's going to have to go to the big city to be able to participate in these. So that's one concern I have. But I personally kind of like this system. A lot of people are upset about it. But what you brought up earlier was you don't have to win the pre-qualifier and the pre-qualifier to get qualified. It's one thing. You either go to a Magic Fest and win that qualifier, you go to a store or you win that qualifier, or you get invited through a metric they didn't even say yet, but it's probably going to be Planeswalker points, right? Some sort of participation level where you can go to that qualification, and if you win, you're in. So I think that the simplification of it, like you go to a tournament and you know exactly what's going to happen. One person is going to get a slot. It adds some excitement to the tournament. It brings more of the hype, kind of what you were saying, like these events are going to be a lot larger and that store is going to feel the positive of that. And I just think that taking away the mystery of it and taking away the extra steps is going to be good, especially when you get to know and be able to plan for what pro tours it's going to be feeding into, So you go to this tournament, okay, hey, I'm going to be fed into this pro tour in the same location. I'll be able to go to it in X amount of months. So overall, I'm not really upset by the new system. What do you think overall? Is it better or worse? I know you're kind of concerned. You think it might be harder to get in though.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence about it. I think as time goes on and they like explain more like the metrics that will get you invited to these PTQs and stuff. I kind of want to. I'm on the fence right now, and I kind of want to see how it goes. If it makes it harder for me to qualify for the Pro Tour, well, I just won't be I won't try out for the Pro Tour. I'll just stick with the SCG circuit. By the way, Star City Games is bringing back the Players Championships every year, which is phenomenal. And as far as getting into their IQs, I have like 3 or 4 stores within like 80 miles of me that I can go play an invitational qualifier. So it's not that bad for me if it's going to be harder for me to qualify for the Pro Tour. It's not that bad. I'll just stick to the SCG circuit, honestly.
Yeah, you and the rest of the East Coast. Yeah, so you're on the fence. I kind of like it. You're right, though. There is still some ambiguity. They still have a little bit more to clear up. And then something we didn't really touch on, the Magic Online component, from what I understand, isn't going to change, right? Is that what you're tracking?
Yeah. Magic Online, you're still going to be able to qualify in the same ways you always have been.
Yeah, what they haven't really discussed is where that's going to be fed into, since all these PTs are going to be fed. So there's going to be a little bit more information coming out about that. But we're nearing the end of our episode. If you have any thoughts on this new qualification system or ideas that you have that you think would make it better, let us know on our social media links or in our email or our Twitter handles directly. That will provide to you here real soon at the end of the episode. So before we hit our triple strike questions and we announce the winner of last week's booster pack giveaway, we have our community spotlight. So Jason, take it away.
All right, so for this week's community spotlight, I want to spotlight Man Cave TV. He used to be Man Cave MTG, but he changed his name to Man Cave TV. Man Cave TV is on YouTube, and you can find him there at Man Cave TV. His name is Eric, and he's a really cool dude. You can find him on Twitter at Man Cave TV MTG. You should go follow him. He's got some really cool content. He's at 375 subscribers on YouTube right now. Try to get him to 400. He's going to be doing a giveaway whenever he hits 400. So yeah, go sub to him and then try to get in on that giveaway. But his content, he does like card spotlights for Commander. He does some things with Commander. He does things for all kinds of formats. He does some deck techs. Another thing that he does like on Mondays he does kind of like a video podcast, and on Wednesdays he'll do the same thing. I'm not sure if both are like super consistent or not, but he does them very consistently. I'm pretty sure he streams every Monday and every Wednesday. But I will be on his show here soon, so check that out. I believe it's going to be on the 17th of October. I want to be guesting on his show. So whenever that comes out, check it out. Make sure you're subbed to him so you get the notification. And check out all of his content. He's a really good content creator and a great person. So go and do that. Send him love. Tell him we sent you there. And yeah, Man Cave
Is that
TV.
going to be a live stream, or is that going to be a pre-recorded video on YouTube?
It's going to be a live stream.
Oh, so they'll be able to like ask questions of you and stuff?
Yeah. Yep. I'll be
Good
live.
stuff. Well, Man Cave TV. You also have an announcement, don't you?
Yes. So yesterday was the last chance to get on the booster box giveaway for our 500 subscriber giveaway, and I am happy to announce that the winner of the Guilds of Ravnica booster box is Haley Stone. She subscribed to us on YouTube. She likes us on Facebook. I got your contact information, Haley, and I'm going to be getting a hold of you here shortly to try to get you this box. I can't get it to you like right away, but I will have it shipped out to you by Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. But for everybody else, sorry you didn't win. Still awesome that you put in for it. But at 1,000 subscribers, we're going to do the exact same thing again. So stay tuned. Try to help us spread the word and get us some more subscribers, because at 1K, we're going to do another booster box giveaway. And that could either be for a Guilds of Ravnica booster box, or if the new set comes out, Ravnica Allegiance, I believe it's called, we'll do a booster. Whatever the current set is, we're going to do another booster box giveaway at 1K. So thank you all for trying to get it, for putting in your... I don't know what I'm trying to say. Can we cut that part out?
Thank you for helping us.
Yeah. Thank you for helping us. Thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for entering. We really appreciate everything that you do for us, all the attention that you bring us. We hope that we continue to give you the content that you like, but just stay tuned for some other awesome things that are coming down the pipeline.
How many subscribers do we have right now on YouTube?
696.
Not bad, considering where we were just a few months ago. So, also, if you're listening to this, let your friends know. Tell your mom, tell your wife, tell whoever. We're going to start uploading these podcast episodes onto our YouTube page as well. So, that's another reason to subscribe there if you haven't, and to tell your friends to subscribe there. So, congratulations, Haley. I hope you invite some friends over and have a big draft, and enjoy the box. Thank you for subscribing. So, we're going to move on to our triple strike questions. Last week, we had the winner of the triple strike questions was MTG Strategist. We offered the free booster pack, and he decided to pay it forward to the next winner. So, thank you very much, MTG Strategist, for doing that. Very generous. And we are going to add that to the prize pool for this week's winner, which is none other than our last week's Community Spotlight, Pappy Popper. So congratulations, Pappy Popper. You are the winner of 2 Guilds of Ravnica booster packs, and I'll be getting a hold of you, and we will get those sent out to you shortly. And the questions that you answered and shared the link of were, the first strike question was regarding why was Felidar Guardian banned back in April of 2017 from Standard. And the answer to that question is Felidar Guardian had an infinite combo with Shali Rai that they decided to ban. So the infinite combo was the answer to that question. And question number 2 was how many slivers have been printed in Magic the Gathering in its lifetime? And the answer is 96. We were not concerned with changelings or anything. Pappy Popper, you were getting a little fancy with that in your answers, we saw, but 96 is the answer. And then the last strike question was how many cards are in a small cube, with the hint being given what is kind of the minimum amount of cards needed for an 8-player draft. And the answer we were looking for was 360 cards in a small cube. So those were your answers for last week's triple strike questions. So, starting this week's triple strike questions, just a reminder on how this works. So, if you want to be entered to win a free booster pack on us, all you have to do is go on to Facebook or Twitter and share a link to this podcast episode or any podcast episode via YouTube or whatever listening platform you are on with the hashtag MTGDeckTechs. And we will automatically enter you to win a free booster pack, and then we will randomly mix up all the names, and pick you. As added fun, if you'd like to, you can answer the triple strike questions. They are 3 questions that we will present right here: first strike, double strike, and last strike. And we will give you the answers like I just did in the next episode. So this week's first strike question is, where is the WotC headquarters located? We're talking city and state. This double strike question is, what are 2 creatures you can exile from your hand and then add mana to your mana pool? So what are 2 creatures that you know of that have the ability to exile them from your hand and generate mana for you? Okay. And the last strike question is, what creature has the largest power in Magic the Gathering that's ever been printed? Now, we're not talking about asterisks. We're not talking about power that is related to something else, such as, swamps or islands or anything like that. What is the card with a printed number that is the highest number that Magic has ever printed? So, those are your triple strike questions of the week. And I think that just about does it. So, if you'd like to get a hold of the show, you can email us on at MTGDeckTechsPodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach me, James, on Twitter at JamesRMTG. And Jason, how can they reach you?
You can reach me on Twitter at T2TKS, or I also have access to at MTGDeckTechs as well on Twitter. So either of those ways work for me.
Awesome. So let us know if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer on the air, or if you have any feedback about the topics we discussed on either Twitter, Facebook. Shoot us an email, hit us up on our website, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So that's all I have. Jason, you got anything else?
No, that's all I got. Again, thank you everybody for entering in the giveaway. And thank you for continually checking out our stuff. We greatly appreciate it. We couldn't do any of this without your help and your support. And it wouldn't even be worth it to continue doing it if you guys didn't like what we did. So thank you, everybody, for what you do for us. And we greatly appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Have fun. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. It helps out a lot. Also, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all of our uploads. You can follow us on these platforms here at MTGDeckTechs. And finally, a big shout out to Terry Ledford for his generous Patreon donation. If you would like to become a patron for MTGDeckTechs, please click the link down below. It is not necessary, but it helps us out quite a bit. Thank you for watching the video, and we will see you all again soon.